I'm Sarah Newby with Strategic Office Support, summarizing the top HME and DME industry news. If you want to stay up to date with videos of what's happening in the HME industry, make sure that you click subscribe and you turn on notifications so that you do not miss a thing. This segment summarizes the hottest headlines from last month, June 2023. And before I start, I do want to give credit where credit is due. Most of these stories came from HME News. So if you want to read all of it straight from the source, make sure that you head on over to their website. Now, let's jump straight into it. First, 3 stories related to payers. Adapt, Rotech, and Humana team up. Adapt Health and Rotech Healthcare have signed a contract with Humana to provide home medical equipment to about 1 million Medicare Advantage HMO members. The contracts, which started July 1st, were awarded by state, with Adapt Health covering 33 states plus the District of Columbia, and Rotech covering 8 states. Adapt Health plans to manage Medicare Advantage HMO members by itself, but may do some subcontracting where it makes sense. HME providers are concerned about the potential loss of Medicare Advantage contracts due to this recent announcement. A recent report from the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 30.19 million of the 59.82 million people with both Medicare Part A and Part B were enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan in 2023. Now compare that to less than 1 in 5 in 2007. Industry experts anticipate that providers can expect more exclusive contracts in this growing market. In other news related to payers, Amedisys chooses Optum over Option Care Health. Option Care Health, a provider of home infusion services, has terminated its $3.6 billion merger with Amedisys. This is following Optum's unsolicited bid. Amedisys announced on June 26 that they've agreed to be acquired by Optum in an all-cash transaction for $101 per share, in a deal that's valued at more than $3 billion. This acquisition follows Optum's $5.4 billion acquisition of home health provider LHC Group earlier this year. It appears that Optum is on the hunt for home health assets. And when it comes to working with payers, Florida is celebrating their recent win. Florida home medical equipment providers will receive a 7.5% increase to the Medicaid fee schedule. This is the first increase in 23 years. The reimbursement increase was passed as part of Florida's budget, allowing a 4-year advocacy effort by AA Home Care and the Florida Alliance of Home Care Services to be a great success. The efforts of our state and regional associations are truly having an impact on legislation, so much so that providers are looking for ways to further representation. Alaska's healthcare sector faces unique challenges compared to the lower 48 states, prompting providers to seek better representation. The Pacific Association of Medical Equipment Services has extended its coverage to include Alaska. The association already represents Oregon and Washington, and the association unanimously voted to include Alaska as a member. One example of legislative success is the news that seat elevations are a go. Complex rehab stakeholders have achieved success, with CMS's final decision approving seat elevation systems for power wheelchairs. The ITEM Coalition requested coverage for seat elevation back in September 2020. Work on coding and reimbursement is now underway, and once seat elevation is fully secured, the community intends to move forward with pressing for Medicare coverage of standing systems as the next step. Now, mobility is not the only arena expanding services. The CGM market is growing. Providers are working to fill an information gap for referral sources who may not be familiar with Medicare policy changes that expanded coverage for continuous glucose monitors, also known as CGMs. CMS implemented new guidelines in March, including expanding coverage for CGMs to include beneficiaries with type 2 diabetes. The changes have led to an increase in prescriptions for CGMs, and the market for type 2 diabetes is growing. Now, with growing markets comes growing pains, and remote staffing becomes a go-to solution. HME companies are increasingly relying on remote staffing solutions, according to a recent HME News poll. 85% of respondents to the poll cited 2 reasons as the key drivers for outsourcing certain operations: fill vacancies and reduce expenses. Remote staffing is considered extremely beneficial and affordable, with 64% of respondents to the poll using it for more than 3 years. And now here is a plug for Strategic Office Support, offering industry-leading HME staffing solutions for over 4 years. With SOS, your remote staff members report on-site, in-office to a secure facility with on-site management. SOS specializes in the HME workflow, and we are absolutely fanatic about delivering the very best service to clients. Okay, back to the news. Make sure to be ready for post-PHE audits. Industry experts are urging HME providers to prepare for a return to normal after the public health emergency ended on May 11th. CMS published directions for claims that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, including continuing to use the CR modifier for rentals and supplies and returning to proof of delivery with the patient's signature. Industry experts believe claims with that CR modifier will be subject to scrutiny. Auditors are also expected to be thorough in telehealth visits. DME providers must ensure telehealth visits include audio and visual to bill these claims. Now, moving on to M&A activity. Though the M&A activity in the HME industry has slowed as compared to 2021 and 2022 levels, the industry is still experiencing a lot of activity. In addition to the Optum Medicis deal, I have 3 acquisitions to report on. Advent Home Medical acquires Med Emporium. Michigan-based Advent Home Medical and New Harbor Capital have acquired Charlotte, North Carolina-based Med Emporium, a respiratory care company. This marks Advent Home Medical's 3rd acquisition in partnership with New Harbor Capital, which completed a majority investment in the company in March 2021. The acquisition was strategic to expand into new geographies. Norco acquires Samaritan. Samaritan Health Services has sold its medical equipment business, Samaritan Medical Supplies, to Norco Medical. With over 70 locations in 7 Western states, Norco plans to maintain the Samaritan Medical Supplies locations. BritCare acquires Valmed. BritCare Home Medical has acquired Valmed Home Health and Pharmacy Solutions, aiming to expand into the overlooked hospice market. Valmed also offers HME and orthotics, as well as infusion pharmacy solutions. Now, HME and home infusion mergers are likely to increase. Home infusion companies are focusing on value-based care as the market continues to grow. M&A analysts predict that these companies will merge with larger providers to become more attractive to payers. Examples include the Option Care Health almost merger with Medicis and Caba Fusion forming a joint venture with Memorial Hermann Health System. The market is expected to see more mergers like these as providers focus on growing patient populations and building payer relationships across the entire continuum of care. That concludes the June 2023 HME and DME industry update. And please don't forget, if you want to stay up to date with what's happening in the industry, make sure that you click subscribe and you turn on those notifications, and then check back in early August for the next segment, where I'll be reporting on the top industry news of July.